Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Patti Kistler's official taping of the YouTube channel comedy show. My name is Joshua. The funny lady is my mother, which makes me a little uneasy this evening because I feel she's going to tell a lot of my childhood angst at y'all's pleasure, so be it. It's glad to see so many people here, although I knew there'd be a good turnout because, as my father told me, someone posted the invitation to the comedy show on the Facebook. He's like, the whole world's going to see it. And I was like, no, Dad, it doesn't work that way. You know what? Yeah, the whole world's going to see it, Dad. Tokyo is going nuts over this right now. If anything knows anything about Patti Kistler, the biggest takeaway is she's a selfless giver, giving of encouragement, giving of help, giving of her time, and in my younger years, giving me spankings. Fast forward to nowadays, she's giving me grief because of my man bun. She's like, men aren't supposed to have long hair. I'm like, Mom, come on, Jesus did, it's cool. Basically, she's just an all-around giver of kindness and loved by all that she meets. Okay, a few ground rules for this evening. First, no throwing anything at her. Shoes, fruits, small children, nothing. Second, tonight, all booing will be replaced with laughter. This is really going to throw her off. Is they laughing or booing? We don't know. Mobile phones, leave them on. Keep yourself entertained, And if anyone texts you a good joke, text it to her while she's up here. Might like it. So without further ado, allow me to introduce the award-winning chemist, kickboxing champion, competitive speed knitting finalist, recent ticket recipient of excessive speeding in a school zone, the latest and greatest kid to come out of Middleburg, the one, the majestic Patti Kistler.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. And like you said, I'm Patti Kistler, but I haven't had a ticket in a while. I've been married for 37 years. Married to my husband, David Kistler. It was the greatest thing in the world. I really chose wisely. I married him when he was 25. And I thought, at some point, he's going to mature. Well, boy, did I think wrong. When he turned 50, I said, screw it, it's never going to happen. And now, at 62, I swear he's going backwards. It's like he has a mental Benjamin Button disease or something. Something's wrong here. We have 3 sons. I'm the only girl, and I love it. And I didn't realize when we had these children how much darn work they would be. I had a friend at church one time. She told me she had 3 children to perpetuate the Christian religion. Well, I had 3 children, so I didn't have to do dishes and laundry all by myself. But nobody told me the more children you have, the more dishes and laundry you have. But then I have a sister that gave birth to a baby girl, my Victoria. And when she was 4 months old, she went to my mother and said, Mom, can you and Dad watch Victoria for us for 2 weeks while we move to Connecticut? Mom and Dad said, sure. My sister left, and we didn't hear from her for 5 years. I never knew that was an option. Man, I would have dropped those kids off in a heartbeat if I'd have known that was an option. They say 20/20 hindsight. Man, if I had it to do over again. But they eventually adopted the little girl, and now it's real technical. She is my niece/sister. But she calls me sister, Aunt Patti, Mom, and my favorite, every once in a while she screws up and calls me Miss Aunt Patti. I have another niece that calls me Aunt Miss Patti. So I get called weird stuff, but that's good. Okay, David and I have been married for 6 years when we moved from Duval to Clay County. 6 years. We had to change our bank account information from Duval to Clay. So I stayed home with the boys. David went down and filled out the paperwork. He came home with a sheath of papers, and they all had those little Post-it arrow things, sign here, stupid, you know those? But I looked at it, and under each line, it said Patricia A. Kistler. I said, David, who filled these out? I told him what to put. I said, it says Patricia A. Yeah, Patricia Ann, that's your name. No, it's not. No. Your mother's name is Patricia Ann. My name is Patricia Lee. He said, are you sure? Pretty much know my own name. I got my name in an odd way. I can't believe my mother did this. My father dated a girl named Patricia Lee. Loved the name, loved it, just didn't like the girl. Married my mother and said, honey, the first daughter we have, could we name her Patricia Lee after an old girlfriend that I didn't like, but I loved the name? My mother said yes. There is no way in heaven in the dark place that I would ever have gone with that. So when I was born, she's sitting in the bed filling out the paperwork, and she says to my dad, do you want this Leigh or Lea? He said, what's that? Lee. No, Lee. Well, that's the boy's way of spelling it. He said, that's how I know how to spell it. So my name is Patricia Lee. There you go. Then when Mom started writing my name, she started writing it as Patti, but she spelled it not with a Y and not with an I-E. She spells it Patti. So I say all the time, my name is Patti with an I. Well, I was taking a college course, and the registrant lady was sitting there, and she said, first name? I said, Patti with an I. She started to write, and then she looked up and said, wouldn't that be pity? Okay, I told you I have my little niece Victoria, my niece/sister. Well, we always had Thanksgiving at our house, and when we moved out to the country, it was great. We didn't have to worry about where people parked. We have a little over an acre of land, and you could have people out back playing Turkey Bowl, which is the football game for the weekend warriors. And the kids could run and play. So everybody's outside, but all the women are in the kitchen, and we're all talking. You know how women do. Well, I taught my sons I wanted them to grow up to be respectful, kind, courteous people. And one thing I really can't stand is when a child comes up and interrupts adults talking. So I told them, if you need to talk to me and I'm talking with people, you may say, excuse me, Mom. I'll put my finger up. Now, I tend to talk with my hands. So I said, if I start talking with my hands, you have my permission to hold my finger. Okay, so I'm sitting in there. Josh comes in. Excuse me, Mom. Now, Josh was little. Excuse me, Mom. Put the finger up. Then I keep talking with everybody, and he holds my finger, and he's standing there going from one foot to the other, from one foot to the other, 1 foot to the other. About 5 minutes goes past, and I finally stop and look at him and say, okay, Josh, what did you want? Victoria's sitting in the middle of the road, and a car is coming. Never cleared out a kitchen faster than that in my life. We all run outside. Victoria's sitting in the middle of the road, digging in the dirt, and my neighbor from down the road is just sitting there like, is anybody gonna come get this kid? My son Jensen is so sweet. He say, Victoria, you need to come out of the road. I said, why didn't you just drag her out? Oh, no, you know. So we had to have a real long talk about what constituted an emergency. Okay, so we have this acre and a half, or a little over an acre of land, and when we moved there, the boys were little, so David was responsible for all the cutting. He taught them very quickly how to run a lawnmower. But we had to go buy a riding lawnmower because I thought he was going to pass out the first time he tried to cut it. But he also is very good about using the weed eater. I don't call it that. It doesn't eat weeds, it whacks them. I call him the weed whacker. Okay? But he has a problem. From the end of the growing season in the fall to the beginning of the growing season in spring, David completely forgets how to use the stupid thing. I don't know, he's just got this mental problem. Guys, the directions are written directly on it. Directly on it. Now, he has a problem with the sun, so he goes outside to weed whack the grass. He goes out in a white hat with a big floppy brim. He has on a white t-shirt. I can't ever remember the word. He has sweatpants, white sweatpants that are closed with a drawstring, white shoes, and white socks. Well, I guess I should have said white socks and then white shoes. If it weren't for the hat and that he doesn't have an earring, he would look like Mr. Clean. So he's out there one day, and I'm rolling my eyes. He's out there, won't work. 30 minutes later, I took pity on him, and I went out and said, would you like me to read the directions? Oh, well, if you have to, you know. So I read the directions to him. He followed each step. He pulled that drawstring, and brum, 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 the thing started right off. But he was holding it too close to his body. And the engine sucked the drawstring into it and started pulling the drawstring out of his pants. And he's standing there holding it going, oh, 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 oh. So it completely shut down the engine. So now I have to go get a pair of tweezers, and I'm sitting on the back porch trying to tweeze drawstring out of the thing. A neighbor comes down, and she says, what are y'all doing? So I explained, oh, 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 oh. She said to David, it's a good thing it didn't catch something else. David looks down. Well, I ain't got nothing else for it to catch. So David's usually we have things pretty good, but every once in a while he really makes me mad. Now I never remember why I get mad. I just remember what happens after. So this one night I was mad at him. Boy, the Bible says don't let your sun go down on your wrath. Well, I let it go down. The next day I was still mad. So Josh called his daddy at work and said, Dad, Mom's still mad at you. You better stop on the way home and get her a flower. Okay, I didn't know this. He comes home half an hour later, big smile on his face, holding a 5-pound bag of Martha White flour. I'm like, what's this for? He said, I don't know. Josh said you're mad and you needed flour. Josh says, Dad, a rose, a carnation, a weed out of the middle of the yard, not flour. He said, well, I thought she was going to extend the olive branch and make me biscuits for dinner. I said, I'm not in trouble. You are. Why would I extend an olive branch? So he got away with it, and I came up with the best thing I've ever come up. It's gotten him out of trouble so many times. How can you stay mad at somebody that stupid? You just can't. You just gotta laugh. Well, I was going to tell you, David had acne really bad when he was a kid. So when Josh ended up showing signs of acne, we were not surprised. We rushed him right into the dermatologist, got him all the topicals and the antibiotics and all this, but he still had quite a bit of acne. So one day, I'm in the bedroom with his brother. We're reading a book together. Bright Josh, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, goes in the cabinet and gets the Mercurochrome. You girls know that? You open it up, it's got the little plastic stick thing, and it's a bright orangish red color. He stands there at the mirror and puts dots of it on every single bit of acne. Then he was in this mode where every time he entered a room, he'd try to scare us. So we're sitting in the room reading, and all of a sudden Josh comes in. I took one look and said, you know that doesn't come off, right? He He's in there scrubbing for half an hour, but for a week he had to explain to everybody, it's mercurochrome, it's mercurochrome, it's mercurochrome. A couple of years ago, I bought brand new mercurochrome. They make it clear now. So I told Josh, I said, hey, they make clear mercurochrome. He said, they probably did back then too. You just bought the stuff to torment me with. So we live out on this dirt road. It's 3 miles of dirt road, and it took forever to get cable out there. But when we finally did, I told David, whatever you do, do not put the movie channels in here. Because if I get used to the movie channels, you will pay for them for the rest of my life. He put them in, every one of them, every one. And every once in a while, he'll open the bill and he'll say, do you see how much this cost? I said, for the rest of my life, you will pay that cable bill. So one of the things they have on there that I love, HGTV. Everybody like HGTV? I love that. I would watch it 24/7, but I didn't realize that if I'm watching it, everybody's watching it, and they're so sick of it. So I took a trip with my mom and dad and my niece/sister when she graduated high school. We took a trip to Alaska. The boys were pretty old, and I didn't care if they were old enough to be left anyway. I left anyway. So we were gone for 2 months. When I came home, the first thing I did was turn HGTV on. My youngest son, Jensen, walked in, looked at the TV and said, you know, we didn't even know that channel existed for 2 whole months, but it's back. He went over to a friend of his house, Adam, and Adam's mom was taking an old dresser that she didn't want to use anymore, and she asked the 2 guys if they would take it to a room for storage. So they dutifully carried it, not too bright. They sat the dresser drawers facing the wall. So she came in and said, guys, could you turn it around? I may choose to put something in it. Jensen, after having listened to too much HGTV, said, oh, form and function. He said they looked at him so weird, and he said in his head he was saying, dang HGTV, dang HGTV, dang HGTV. So then recently I just remodeled both of my bathrooms. I got to pick out the tile and the design, and everything is beautiful. And so the boys came over and they're like, wow, it's gorgeous. It's on fleek. It's just beautiful. So I said, who knew I had taste? Jensen said, Mom, you've been watching HGTV for 20 years. You ought to have learned something by now. But they're beautiful. And every time someone comes over, I say, let me take you to the bathrooms. Okay, now, when I was a child, my parents let me get 2 horses, and I love horses. But there were 2 things I was never able to do. I always wanted to ride horses in the mountains and go ride horses at the beach. But so David is not a horseman, not at all. He says, those things are big and you don't know what they're going to do. You know it was a horse that killed Superman, right? Yeah, so he is not a horseman. But so he took me to the mountains. I got to ride the horses in the mountains. Then we had an opportunity to go on a cruise to the Bahamas. Well, unbeknownst to me, he got on the computer and found out you could ride horses in the water at the beach. So he signed us up for it and didn't say anything until we get there to Bahamas. And he says, come on, we got something cool. I was in heaven. First thing you did is you rode around with a regular saddle with a horn and stirrups. You rode around the island, and then they take you over. They change your horse's saddle. They put a saddle on that's kind of like a yoga mat with a thing under, like a belt under it. No horn, no stirrups. That's okay. Then they put about a 4-inch wide belt that you can, buoyancy belt, like a life belt on you. So you go out in the water. Now, when I say ride horses in the water, I was thinking up to their ankle, maybe the knee. They let you go all the way up to the horse's chest. So it's wonderful. They say, okay, we have two guys, a Bahamas guy and a Jamaican guy. And they said, one's going to be in the front, one's going to be in the back. You follow, you go straight out to the water, to their chest, make a right, and you ride parallel to the shore. We get out there, everybody, go out, turn, go out, turn, go out, turn. David, go out, go out, go out, go out. David didn't turn his horse, and now his horse is literally swimming up to his neck going 200 plus pound man on him. David screaming, I don't know how to drive this thing. He says, I'm gonna fall off. I don't know how to drive it. So the two men, the Bahamian man says, dude, you turn the rein to the right. You turn the rein to the right. David, what? And the other guy says, man, pull the rein to the right, man. Pull the rein to, what? So I'm thinking, dang it, I'm going to have to stop and help him. But I really didn't want to because I was having a good time. But then I could see him, I could see the ship, and I thought, well, maybe I better, if I don't stop him, if one of them drowns, there's going to be an investigation. I'll miss the next trivia show on the ship. So I stopped and said, David, and he's screaming at me, I don't know how to drive this thing. I said, take the left rein in your left hand and don't pull on it. Take the right rein in your right hand and pull it to the right, and he'll come back. He says, but I'm going to fall off. So what? You know how to swim, and you got a life vest ring on you. Fall off. Well, I don't want to leave the horse out here. I said, I guarantee you, if you get your butt off that horse, he's going back to the barn for a pail of feed. So finally he pulls him, he gets him back, and everything else was fine. The next day, they have photographers out there. So the next day we go up to buy the pictures of me riding my horse in the river or in the ocean. I'm so excited. They have 2 pictures of each of us that were in the group. They must have had 12 of David. And I bought all of them. I don't know if they thought this is hilariously funny or they thought this is a lawsuit in the works. So they had lots and lots of things. That poor horse. I'll never forget that horse. David is always, he does all this super sappy, stupid stuff, and I rarely ever initiate anything. It's always him. So the 2 bathrooms, now that they're beautiful, he took the front bathroom and I have the back bathroom, and they have one wall that is shared between them. So if we're brushing our teeth or something, David initiates a, and if I don't tap back, he won't stop. So finally, okay. Well, he does it all the time. Well, one night we're asleep, 4 o'clock in the morning. He gets up. I feel him get up out of the bed. So I thought, well, while he's going to the bathroom, I'll go. So I'm in the bathroom washing my hands, and I thought, I never initiate this. So I tapped on the wall. He didn't answer. So I tapped again. He didn't answer again. I tapped a 3rd time. He didn't answer. What? So I go out into the hallway and I'm like, David, what's wrong with you? He comes running around from the front door. He says, shh, somebody's knocking at the front door at 4 o'clock in the morning. But he's really good at showing his love. He's great at showing his love. So here at our church, at the church at Argyle, they have this really cool program for the married people called Married People Big Night Out. And a couple of years ago for Valentine's Day, they took us out to the country. They had this beautiful barn at this place, tables all set up nice and pretty, and a lovely catered meal. People from our church sang solos. Our pastor gave a real quick little love thing, probably from Ephesians. And then they decided they were going to play a game. So they asked, and they got 3 volunteers. Well, they weren't really volunteers. They kind of pulled it out of a hat. And one of the couples said, we don't play games. Now, friends of mine, so I said, come on, play the game. We don't play games. Come on, you can do it. No, you do it. So David and I, by default, ended up playing. It was the truly wed game, which is like the newlywed. So we were going along, we're doing okay. They came up with a question. They said, David, what one attribute of yours would you say Patti prizes that attribute over all your other attributes? I'm sitting there thinking, well, we're screwed. He doesn't know what an attribute is. So I write down his sense of humor. He gets up in front of my entire church and the pastors and the people I work with in children's ministry, everybody, he gets up and says, I'm a great lover. Oh, God. Good night, everybody. Tip your waitresses. Thank you.